And there's no do-overs. I said this from the very moment. You remember back in 2020, I'm yelling and screaming in this microphone, and we're 100% correct. Not 99, not 98, not 99.999, 100%. You got these damn ballots down there. These people have fought for 5 years, and they've had subpoenas before. They've had all this hospitality. They've had judges. That crew down, the same crew that was going to put Trump in prison. In bald daylight, this is my point. They know they stole the frickin' thing. And what are they going to do for the people that said, no, we got to get to the bottom of this? They're going to put Trump in prison. And then you got all the other electors. And, hey, the electors is a different issue. I was not an electors guy. You don't need it because it's not going to matter. They're not going to vote for your electors. It's not relevant. They can't certify his. Get focused. They can't certify his, and they can't certify his. It goes into the House of Representatives, and guess what? You're president of the United States again. Now, as we know, divine providence, the will of God works in mysterious ways, and it's not for us to judge, but you know what? We needed that steal was important because we needed to go into the wilderness for 4 years. We were not prepared at that time to make the fundamental changes in this country that we needed to make, given where that administration was ended up and all the globalists and everybody fighting Trump. Look at Trump's fight from the time of the pandemic, and you saw it every day here on that show, in this show. And look at the summer of love. From that time on, it was warfare. In this second term right now, this glorious revolution that we're doing every day. And I just got to watch, I just broke down last night and watched all the hours of the MSNBC Live just to watch it. And Chris Hayes is the first guy to come out there. And Chris Hayes is one of the smart, he's the acolyte of Maddow. He's one of their smartest guys. He comes out and he says the first thing he tells them is that, hey, you got to understand, these guys believe it. And they're moving at the most rapid pace of any country in the world to achieve their objectives. Full stop. You should have seen the audience in shock because he's a guy that watches closely. We would have never been able to do that unless we had the years in the wilderness. This is what makes this story so epic. It's epic. Why did I sit here on the afternoon of the 20th of January, 2021? By the way, in the first minutes, the Chinese Communist Party, right, says full sanctions on Pottinger, Navarro, Pompeo, and Bannon. 5 minutes, no response from the State Department. Of course, who cares? The Biden and those guys are all in business with them. And what did I call him? An illegitimate regime, not an administration. You know, not super, an illegitimate regime. Why was it illegitimate? Because they stole the 2020 election. Had I mentioned that? Did I mention that? You don't have to take your number 2 pencil out and write this down. Let this be emblazoned. Let this be burned into your soul. Because all the things going on, you got to keep focused on what do we have to do to make sure that we can take this apparatus down in like a Carthaginian piece. You take it apart and then you bury it and then you put salt on it so nothing ever comes back from it again. Rough Roman justice for this crowd. And we're not moving fast enough and we're not moving tough enough. And I'm sorry if I'm hurting some feelings here. I don't give a damn about your feelings. Here's what I care about. The only thing I care about is victory on this. And if you're not interested in victory, then get the hell out of the way. And no more, I don't want any more letters. I don't want any more, we got to do this. Get a U.S. Marshal and get a warrant and go down and seize those ballots today, not tomorrow, today. You don't think they would destroy the evidence? For this very issue, they were putting Trump in prison for decades to have him die in prison. And if they had the opportunity, if it wasn't a clown car down there, they would have done it. You know what the Republican establishment down there did to assist people that were said The country, we're burning the Constitution, and we must stop this. We cannot allow this to happen. No, the business community, because the business community, these guys are always, they're never going to stand in the breach. This is my problem with the oligarchs. They're never going to stand in the breach because their values are not your values. Your values are back to the core essentials of this republic, and the reason we've been around for 250 years. As a republic, do good days and bad days. Why? We have a constitution, but we also have something deeper than the Constitution. Deeper than the Constitution. Because yes, Mark Levin, at the end of the day, you don't worship the Constitution. It's a contract. A divinely inspired contract. Kind of a merger of equals of things that were not equal. And worked out. And became a beautiful foundational element to govern what went from a vast wilderness to a global power, the greatest nation in the history of the earth. Not the greatest nation now, the greatest nation in the history of the earth. Freed more people, created more wealth, did more good. For all of our faults, and our faults sometimes have been pretty grievous, our greatness is we rose above those faults. And you're telling me in a warehouse in Fulton County, somewhere in Georgia, sits the receipts and the evidence that they stole an election, and that 5 years afterwards we're going to send a letter and play by their rules? If the Trump revolution shows you anything, is to hell with their rules. If Trump played by their rules, he would have finished 16th in a 16-man race in the primary back in 2015 and 2016. These people against us are evil, and they control an apparatus that's virtually all-powerful, and they ain't giving it up. And they're particularly not going to give it up. You think they're going to give it? You think Johnson scares them? You think John Thune scares? They're part of the system. If you want to save your country, just like in the movie The Untouchables, they know where the whiskey is. Do you have the courage to take the axe and beat down the door and go through it? Because once you go through it, there's no coming back. Yes, look at Arthur Frost. They're going to put you in prison. They're going to bankrupt you. They're going to deplatform you. If you're not prepared to do that, then get out of the way. You're not in this fight. You're just an observer. That's what connects Caroline Jeffords and Sally Grubbs to Phyllis Schlafly.